Lesson 2B. In this exercise, we're going to look at some of the data we have on hand. We have to make sure that we've got what we need for the project, and we need to understand the basic properties of our data, such as the format it's in, whether it's point line or polygon geometry, or if it's a raster data set. Does it cover the right geographic area? What kind of attributes does it have? How well we know our data affects a lot of work leading up to the analysis, like which data sets we decide to use and which ones we pass over, and what kind of preliminary data processing we'll have to do. Knowing our data even shapes the way we set up the analysis, because the information we ultimately extract depends on the raw ingredients we start with. Although most of our work in this book is done in ArcMap, it's more efficient to use ArcCatalog for the kind of investigation we're doing here. Under UGIS, locate the source data folder and expand everything you can within that folder and all the subfolders. As you can see, there's a variety of different data found in here, both in raster and vector format, stored in 3 different folders and 1 geodatabase. The detailed topic on page 63 of your book breaks down which data formats the various icons designate. In the City of LA folder, highlight the dataset parcels.shp, then click the Preview tab, which opens a larger interactive view of the data. Click the Zoom In tool and drag a box to zoom in until you can make out individual features. Representing individually owned parcels of land, this is the spatial data we need, because ultimately the land for our park will need to be acquired from somewhere. Now select the Identify tool and click on any parcel. The vacancy attribute is not there, but there is one for area which we need, although it's in unspecified units. In this same folder, we have a standalone table called vacantparcels.dbf. At the bottom of the table preview, we can see that it contains 44,462 records. These represent all vacant parcels in the city. In the Description tab, we see in the Summary section a key bit of information which reveals that we can join this table to the parcels dataset we just looked at by using a parcel identification number. This will allow us to append the vacancy attributes to the parcels. Next, we'll go into the Esri Geo Database and preview the spatial data we have for cities. The first one we already used in Lesson 1. Clicking the Full Extent button reveals that this layer covers the entire U.S. Here we also see stored another feature class for cities, but these are represented as points instead of outline polygons. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. We'll decide later whether to use one or the other or both. Next, let's preview the LA River feature class. It looks like there's just one river in this feature class, but if we switch to the table preview, we see that there are in fact 265 separate features. Why so many? The answer has to do with attributes. The creators of this data wanted to store facts about the river such as capacity and discharge at different places along its length. To do that, they had to define the river as a spatially connected series of individual features. We already symbolized and labeled something called the Parkland feature class in Lesson 1, but here we also have a shapefile called Parks. It looks from the geography preview like the extent of the features corresponds to the city of Los Angeles. We can't be sure until we add the data to the map. The preview shows us there are 337 records or features and just a few attributes. Under Park data, we have a shapefile called New Parks. When previewed, it contains just 2 features. The Description tab reveals that these are relatively newer parks. We need to make sure these are included in whatever parks feature class we use later on. If necessary, we can merge them in later. Directly below that, we have a raster dataset called VistaHermosaPark.tif. The geography preview shows an aerial photograph of a park under development. This is another new park that we have to remember to take into consideration as we proceed. Interestingly, there's no attribute table to preview. Clicking the Identify tool on the image brings up the color value of the pixel that you happen to click. Finally, we'll preview the census data at several levels of detail containing the demographic attributes required in our analysis. We actually have 3 levels to choose from: tracks.shape, blockgroups.shape, and blockcentroids.shape. The topic on page 73 of your book breaks down the fundamentals of census geography. Either block groups or tracks will satisfy our requirements for neighborhoods. Because of their point geometry, block centroids won't. That completes our objectives for this exercise. We've taken stock of the data we have on hand and previewed features, attributes, and metadata in ArcCatalog. We have a better sense of what our data looks like, and we're aware of some of the choices we'll have to make as we go forward.